to ECOTIMES.TV magazine podcast. Today we're with Kate Edwards, who is from Cobcourses.com and is a Cob expert. My name is Alex Strong, I'm the host. Kate, are you there? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Great stuff. And so you're a Cob expert, and please tell us about Cob, because I understand that you've built a lovely, beautiful house all out of Cob.
Well, Cob is quite simply the most environmentally friendly form of building known to mankind. It is so local and amazing. It's literally just clay, sand and straw. And the most amazing thing about this material is it can be dug from the site wherever you are in the world. So whichever country you're in, whichever part of the world, you're using the subsoil from your site. So what was great about our house that we've built here is that all the clay and all the sand came from the site. So we didn't manufacture or transport any materials, meaning that the house, basically, the walls of the house had zero embodied energy, except our sweat, obviously. But, really, that is quite unbeatable in terms of eco-credentials. A lot of houses say they're green housing. They're greener than other housing. In other words, they're well insulated. But if you look at what they're made of, the materials quite often have had high manufacturing costs, carbon costs, and they've been transported all over the world. So Cob, to me, is the king. The king of Cob, because it's too good. It's just perfect. Wherever you are, you can use the materials,
right,
mix it up, and you sculpt your house on site.
Okay, so can you explain how you make it? Well,
there's lots of different methods. We teach courses, and on the courses we teach people the traditional method, which is dancing. So it's quite fun. We have a dance. In the old days, they would have used a horse, and basically, because clay is so sticky, you can't put it into a cement mixer because it'll just stick to the outside. Right. So we dance on it, which crushes the particles of clay and sand together. If you've got lots of people, then that's a great method, and you get really fit, and it's amazing. But obviously, on a large scale, we tend to use for our house, we used a mini digger. Awesome. So 1.5 ton mini digger. Yep. We had it 5 days. We mixed like mad. And we mixed up enough Cob to build the whole house. We then had a great pile of Cob, which we then pitchforked onto the house when we needed it. So we used a digger. We dug a pit, and we crushed the clay, the wet clay. You wet the clay up. The clay up so it's really soggy. Wet it up. Put the subsoil. Sandy gravel is best. More gravelly the better. The stronger it is. And you crush it with the head of the digger in the pit. Get it nice and mushed up, and then you add some straw. And you've got the perfect building material.
All right. So when it comes to the sandy clay, I'm guessing we just have to dig down a few feet and we kind of get that material?
Yeah, the way it works is anywhere in the world you are, you're going to have X amount of topsoil. So you may have 2 inches, you may have 2 feet. Right. You get rid of the topsoil. So the topsoil is the dark humusy material with lots of roots in it and great for growing, but not great for building. So you take the topsoil away. And average is about 1 foot. So you dig down 1 foot, say, and you find your subsoil is going to, as a massive generalization, is going to be either clay or sandy, and sometimes a combination of both. And so sometimes you dig down and you find the perfect combination just there in your soil, and you just dig it out and mash it up, and away you go. What you would normally find is a seam of clay, and another part of the land you'd find, whole areas of sandy gravel. So you would mix them up, take them out separately, get the proportions right. So obviously you've got 3/4 sand to 1/4 clay. Mix it up.
So you have a digger for 5 days to make, I'm guessing, a few tons of Cob. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably 30 odd tons,
30 odd tons, which is amazing. Can you store that? So can you keep it moist or whatever until you're ready to use it? Or do you have to kind of, straight away get it kind of molded and on my building?
No, you can keep it, if you can manage to keep it wet by covering it with, plastic of some kind, some black plastic, it'll stay okay, usable for like up to 3 months. Now, what I mean by that is that if you keep it wet any longer than that, the straw will start to rot. Obviously, you can let it dry out and then remash it up as many times as you like. But if you're keeping it wet, you've got to use it within 3 months, or else the straw will start to rot in there.
Okay, but which is fine if you're doing a big build kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so, how long did it take you to build your house, Kate?
It was, if I add up all the time we spent on it, probably about a year. But obviously we did it over a few years because we're doing it very part-time and working on top of it.
Yeah.
But, teaching and stuff. Yeah. But, I mean, I think if a person took, or a couple took a year off work, they should easily get it done.
Okay. So say you had a 20-man team and you just wanted to blitz it and you wanted to build, I don't know, a 2-bed Cobhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're organised. You've got your digger.
Yeah.
What kind of time frame do you think is feasible for doing it?
Couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-3 months, depending on how. I mean, it's very much dependent on the skill of the people doing it. Although it is a low skill, once you've got it, it's but obviously there are skilled elements like the roof and all those things. So, and how hard you work, obviously, which varies massively. But if you're prepared to go for it, then 2-3 months. Easily.
Okay, awesome. So it leads me on to one question I wanted to ask you is, how economical is it to build with cob? I mean, so I'm thinking, I'm sure all our kind of listeners are very economical and they want to kind of use, like the minimal amount of budget, but still have an amazing building. Yeah. So what's the kind of minimum you can go with and have a most amazing building, and what's like you can add a bit more cash if needed, and it's epic. So
sure. Okay, so just some examples. So there's a guy who trained me, Yantu Evans. Yep. He built a house in America in the forest for about 500 quid. Okay, so it's possible to build very, very cheap houses. Our extension, which has basically doubled, it's like a whole house, really. It's doubled the size of our house. Yeah. It cost 10 grand in materials. Now, having looked back at that and reviewed it, I could have made savings there. I could have done it for 6 probably. Okay. So that's doing everything yourself. That's doing every little bit thing. That's not paying people to do anything. So that's just the materials, and that's also doing the thatching myself, which is obviously fairly
is for roof.
Fairly extreme, yes. We're very happy with it. It's got a beautiful staircase made of mud, which is a beautiful sculptural thing. It's got a Romford fireplace, which looks absolutely beautiful. So there's no need to buy a wood burner because you can make your own Romford fireplace out of mud. There's no need to buy staircases, but obviously there are the timbers and things you need to buy for the roof and the floors. You can do an earthen floor downstairs as well, which again saves a lot of money.
So will that's a cob floor, isn't it?
Yeah, but what you do is you polish it. So you finish it with linseed oil, and then you polish it with a beeswax polish. So it looks absolutely lush. Wow. And it is just so warm. And it absorbs the heat from the sun when the sun comes in, holds onto the heat. And it's also, because you finish it with linseed oil, it's also moppable and washable. So the thing is, 10 grand for our extension. I've costed out a dream house around the region of 20 grand.
For a dream house, which is not bad.
Not bad.
So if you were going to do it because we were talking so in terms of that 10 grand you spent on your extension, I'm guessing Matimba was where a lot of that money went. Am I correct in thinking?
The main the walls themselves. Okay, because we basically used all the materials from the site. I think we spent £30 on straw bales, and I think we spent another 30 on some extra clay. Okay, so we spent £60 on the walls. So the rest the main amount was obviously the doors, the windows. My carpentry's not up to making doors and windows that are high enough spec to be eco-friendly. The roof, the thatch itself, even though I put it on myself, still cost a couple of grand. That sort of thing. And the floors, but.
So we were discussing, I know before, Kate, is I was like, because my friend wants to build a tropical cob house. And we were discussing roof situations because I was panicking well, not panicking, but in terms of cost of the wood, for roofing and stuff like that. And then you came up with a great idea of a cob dome roof.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, which is amazing. And I saw an amazing photo the other day, and it was someone painted inside their cob dome roof like a kind of rainbow effect. It was very cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of cob roof, what does one have to be aware of in terms of building a kind of dome roof?
I mean, first of all, like you say, it's incredibly cheap because the cob is free. So if you can manage to build it, which is fairly easy to do, you can save about a third of your cost. So, we probably spent £3,000 on this roof. So they were, immediately down to £7,000. So all you need to do really is just do it slowly and let each section dry. So you move around. Some people make little pre-dried bricks at that stage when they're going into the dome, and they sort of cob them, stick them together with more cob, and that makes it easier to follow a dome pattern. Or if it's a smallish one, you could take long pieces of wood stuck together, long pieces of plywood, and bend it into the dome you need, and then just literally freestyle it round. So you're literally just carrying on building, but you're following the line of the bent piece of wood, or something similar. And then you let each bit dry. Obviously, it's got to dry because obviously if it's too wet, it'll just fall down. So you've got to just do it slowly and carefully. But it can work really well. And obviously, because there's no gaps, obviously there's always heat rises. So you're always going to get heat coming up to the roof, and you're always going to get some leak somewhere. No leaks, no holes to worry about.
Wow.
I think it's a dream idea, to be honest.
Yeah. How did you? How come you haven't got a dome roof? Kate?
Well, I just haven't got around to it, but
right.
It's. I mean, obviously, where we are, we're in like a nature reserve, so we had to.
Yeah.
We've got quite strict planning laws around here, and we had to sort of follow what we've got already. You have to follow what's in the local area, and there aren't any domes in Flegborough, but
not yet. What's it called? That brings me on. I'm going to come back to in terms of different cob structures. So remind me if I forget. But in terms of planning permission and stuff. So obviously we're chatting. We're in the UK, and I'm sure it's very eco-friendly around the world as well, and governments are more likely to give permission and stuff. So how? Obviously, I'm guessing you had to go through all the kind of planning kind of process. How was that, Kate? And can you give any advice and tips?
It was shockingly easy. We got permission in 6 weeks flat on this building.
That's amazing.
Essentially, they have to give you a decision within 8 weeks, and for them to give it early is quite phenomenal. They're very keen. The main thing is they're very keen on green buildings. Every council in the country has got a sort of hundreds of page green agenda documents that come flying at them from central government every other day, and they're very keen to be as green as they can. It varies from area to area, obviously, depending on who's in charge of the council. But some councils, for example, have got whole sustainability departments. They run eco builds, they run fairs. They're really keen on it. Some councils don't care. So you do have to pick your area, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't get cob through. I mean, if anything, it's in your favour to do something green. There's lots of examples of people getting, for example, green roofs through because certain areas are really keen on green roofs. There's lots of examples of cob surpassing all requirements for eco credentials because they're actually, they're termed. What's the phrase? Exceptionally, they have exceptional equal credentials. Yeah. So. There are certain remits under which they can get through very easily because, basically planning is about what it looks like and how it fits into the area. So if you make your cob house fit in, then you can build it and, build it anywhere you like, really.
Which is amazing. And so in terms of the actual kind of process, do you go to kind of a council, get the forms, fill them in, give them back? Do you have to pay any costs?
It's exactly the same as normal planning. So it's £100 and something, nearly £200. You do the regular form. It's quite funny. There's 3 boxes. Is the timber frame, standard construction, other. You just tick other. You're done. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The building regs thing, obviously. It passes building regs with flying colours, but there are certain things you need to know the walls have to be a certain thickness, etc., etc.
Right.
And it's really advisable to use a building inspector who has got some experience. And there are lots of independent inspectors. The one we use is called JHAI, and they're in Dorset, and they actually have got experience with cob and bale, and they'll advise you how to do it. And they don't cost any more than your local council, so you don't have to use your local building control department. You can use a specialist independent inspector, which is much easier.
So when would they come into a process? When you're filling in the forms, or once you've got the okay? Or
so what you do is you put in your application for planning, as long as you've got and it just involves 4 simple drawings, north, south, east, west, and a little summary of what you're doing. And obviously once you've got the approval, you then, before you start work, you have to have building control, on your side, as it were.
Yep.
So you employ either local council or an independent person, and they will take you through the whole thing. So, I mean, when I was ready to start digging, he said, just send me a little sketch of your trench that you're going to dig and how you're planning to do it. And he just really simple sketch, I just, emailed across to him, and he said, oh, that's fine. Cool. They visit about 4 or 5 times. They check you're doing everything right, and it's actually very straightforward.
That's amazing. And well, when one needs to build a house, we definitely know who to get in touch with, Kate.
Yeah.
I would like to thank our sponsor this week, which is ECOTIMES magazine. They cover everything green. Magazine is on the iPad and iPhone. They cover eco travel, amazing eco travel resorts, organic recipes, so amazing recipes to cook, eco gadgets, what's the latest gadgets in eco, amazing eco transport, so battery powered bikes, hybrid cars, battery powered cars, renewable energy, what's the latest in renewable energy in terms of all the different innovative ways we can get energy. Eco how-to, so for example, how to build your own solar panel or own house or something along those lines. They cover eco architecture, so like eco building. They cover tiny houses, which are amazing small houses on wheels, which you should definitely check out if you haven't seen them. They cover all eco news, so what's been going on in the week, and organic food growing techniques. Anything green really, and it's a weekly magazine, and it's on the iPad and iPhone or iTunes. So the link is below, so please enjoy. And now we get back to the show. Thank you very much. So, 2 questions actually. You referenced I was thinking about when we were chatting was grass roof on a Cobhouse and insulation. Okay,
so insulation, obviously, if you can build a dome roof, you're laughing. But the way it works is that what we specialise in is hybrid houses. We specialise in half cob and half straw bale.
Right.
Okay, so straw bale is fantastic insulation. It's currently 3 times better than it needs to be for building regs. So all houses have got to be highly insulated these days, which is great. So if you use, our house uses half cob and half bale. So we use straw bale on the north wall, where in this hemisphere you're not going to get any direct sunlight. And in the south and east and west, we use pure cob. So the way it works is the sun, you angle your house. It's quite simple but complex at the same time. Essentially, you angle your house so that you catch lots of free energy from the sun. So you put lots of glass in the south and hardly any glass, or no glass at all in the north. You have your walls set up so that the sun comes through and lands on the wall, the internal wall, heats the wall slowly. So cob has got a high thermal mass, which is what you're taking advantage of. Now, the insulation comes in where if you highly insulate the north wall with straw bales, the roof with hemp is amazing insulation, much better than sheep's wool, which has had a bit of bad press from various moth attacks and things.
Oh, right.
So forget sheep's wool. But hemp is amazing material. It's really insulative, and you can get loads of it, shove it in all the gaps you can. And the straw bale's in the actual walls, and then you're basically, well surpassing building regs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I suppose so. Coming to a grass roofing, Kate.
Oh, grass roof, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing
if
about
you had a
cob
dome, is that work? A dome with a grass roof, or
you could actually do that. Yeah, in fact, you could actually do that. You'd have to put some non-eco membrane down of some kind, like some rubberized membrane, but that would be a small price to pay, really. So you'd do a fairly low pitch dome. Obviously, the pitch of a grass roof's got to be fairly low, otherwise it will just slide off. Okay, so you could make a fairly low pitch dome, cover it with a rubberized membrane, and then do whatever roof you like. I mean, that would be absolutely amazing. Be a bit Teletubby-ish, but yeah.
It would. I think it would look amazing. I think you're right, though. I think it would look amazing. So, coming back to other uses for cob.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, just economical as anything. I was thinking, obviously, roof for the dome, oven. Fireplace, bed base, sofa base.
That's it.
Anything else I've missed?
You can make cob argas. There's a thing called a Lorna stove, which I haven't actually made one yet, but I know some people who have. It's just like an arga, but it's made of cob. So again, it's a free material, and it's wood fired. So not everybody wants that because obviously the effort of chopping the wood, but it's a very good method. You can set it up so that you have pipes in there that go to hot water and other radiators and things, so set it up like an arga. Some argas are.
Okay.
But yeah, exactly. Why not bed bases? Why not sofa bases and then put cushions on it? Lots of people have made benches, beautiful benches. Because it's such a malleable material, so sculpturable. You can literally sculpt it into any shape and then seal it again with linseed or beeswax. Chuck some cushions on it. You've saved yourself a few grand on sofas.
Which is amazing. Just get lots of comfy cushions.
Exactly.
I have seen, Kate, I'm sure you have, is where one has a fireplace kind of built in, whether it's cob or some other kind of mud oven kind of fireplace, but it's built into the sofa. So you get the heat. And obviously it lasts forever because it kind of traps it in. Yeah.
Our just for example, the ovens, we make pizza ovens as well and tandoori ovens.
Yeah.
But the ovens, you light them, and they're amazingly efficient because they don't have a chimney. So most of the heat stays in the oven rather than going out of the chimney. Anyway, the ovens stay hot. You basically fire them up for about 2 hours, and then they stay hot for literally 7 hours. Because the heat just takes a long time to absorb and then a long time to radiate it back out again. So yeah, if you had a heated bench, which is what you're talking about, an oven with a bench built in, a bench with an oven built in, those things are just amazing because they hold the heat for hours and hours. And on a cool evening, you could be sat out there quite happily.
When you say your pizza ovens haven't got a chimney, how does the smoke? Where does that go?
It just comes out of the door. So once it's going,
just smoking. The door's
it's smoking. Yeah, but once it's going, obviously you don't get much smoke. Once it's starting up, you get a little bit of smoke. But once it's off, obviously if you had them indoors, you'd have to have a chimney. Yeah, but of course. These are outdoor ones.
Reference that me and my colleague, we were at an eco show in Brighton, and we met a gentleman who does the soapstone fireplaces.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah, and the thing about the soapstone is they're amazing at absorbing the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I need to look in the scientific, kind of research on it. I don't know whether they're more efficient than, the kind of other options out there. But it seems that could be the option. One option.
Yeah, I've seen one of those. They're absolutely beautiful. Because they're much denser. Obviously the material, the stone is much denser than cob. Yeah. I'm imagining that they will conduct the heat more, so they will absorb it and then release it quicker, whereas cob will absorb it slower and then release it slower. So apart from that, though, they're sort of similar.
And the cost factor, obviously, soapstone is going to be more expensive.
Oh my god, yeah, I bet they're really expensive. They look absolutely gorgeous.
They do look amazing.
I'm sure they're thousands.
But saying that, Kate, I was seeing that chap in Devon who built a huge house. I don't think he's quite finished it yet. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And I think he was finishing the walls with a lime plaster. Is that correct? Is that the best way to kind of finish the walls, or?
Yeah, we do a lime render on the outside, which is lime, putty, and sand mix with a bit of straw. We do 3 layers, and the outer layer doesn't have any straw, but the 2 inner layers do. And on the inside, you can either make a clay plaster, which is just again clay and sand. So you just take your sand you've dug up, or you can buy some sharp sand, sieve it, and you sieve the clay as well. So you've got a really fine, beautiful material. You add a bit of goat's hair, or you can do a lime. Yeah, a bit of goat's hair.
As you do.
Bit of chinchilla hair. No, bit of goat's hair. And you make this beautiful free plaster. I have experimented with. I mean, for example, in bathrooms, it's great for lime plaster. Is great in bathrooms because you get no mold with lime. Because it's incredibly, so it absorbs the moisture in the air, so warm moisture, which is obviously going to create mold. It absorbs it and then re-releases it, and because it's alkaline, it's naturally alkaline, it kills mold. But I've experimented a little bit with mixing the two. I found clay plaster to be beautiful, but not very strong on straw bare walls. So I've used a combination of clay and lime. I've mixed the two. And made a lovely, which is much cheaper because lime is fairly expensive.
Right.
So if you use mainly clay and just a couple of handfuls of lime in there, that can bring it down and make it stronger.
Okay. And so you recommend lime for a bathroom though and a shower kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's also, I haven't been on this course myself yet, but it's one of the course I want to go on.
Yeah.
To learn how to do you can actually make a wet room out of lime.
Wow.
Certain polishing, you can actually, I can never forget the name. It's an Italian name, beginning with T, Terrianchi or something like that. Anyway, you can polish it and you can make this beautiful wet room out of the material. I mean, how cool is that?
That sounds impressive. We're going to have to include some photos in for the viewers. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Well, where's that course then, Kate? Is it in Italy or
no,
in the UK?
There's one in Devon actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to email me the link. I'm intrigued.
I will. Yeah.
So what's it called? How far can you go with cob? So reference the chap in Devon, I forget his name.
Kevin.
Kevin. Like so impressed, and his dedication. Like for 2 years, he's just there with his digger, just building, and it's like I don't know if that's the most epic cob building ever, but I'm sure it's up there. What are your thoughts?
Obviously, it is amazing what he's doing in beautiful, huge houses. You can obviously in lots of other parts of the world, there are examples, thousands of years old. Like in the Yemen, they've got like a sort of Manhattan style.
Really?
Oh yeah. So there's a thing. If you go City of Mud, so if you just Google City of Mud, basically you can fly over this. You're in the desert in the Yemen, and suddenly there's Manhattan coming out of these great skyscrapers, all made of mud.
Wow, I'm looking at it now.
They've been there. Have you done it quickly?
Yeah.
You're quick, aren't you? They've been there thousands of years, literally.
Wow.
I mean, there are houses that are 10,000 years old made of this stuff in the Jericho area.
This is crazy. It's like New York in Cobb.
I know. Have you seen it? It's amazing.
Yeah. We're going to put the podcast on YouTube as well, so we'll include photos of this. This is amazing.
Yeah. So that just shows you the strength. Just for those of you out there listening about, thinking about strengths. I mean, if you use a sandy gravel, so really strong gravel, you can get the strength up to 15 tons per square foot, the compressive strength. So think about that.
Really?
15 tons of weight on it if you get a nice cob made of lovely gravelly sand. I mean, that's stupidly strong.
That's impressive.
So you just build great skyscrapers. And the problem with this country is, you need, if you go above kind of 2.5 stories, you're going to need a massive overhang because the roof needs to have a slight overhang to protect the walls. So,
Even in a dome? Even in a dome structure? Or it's always worth it?
Well, it's just in a dome. Yes, you would in a dome. Yes, to design the dome so it had a little bit of an overhang all the way around, because the walls will need to be protected with the lime and the overhang to stop the rain, damaging them.
Okay. Have you managed to visit the City of Mud yet?
You know what? I haven't, but I'm hoping to go.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, is cob the best structure in the world to build with? So I'm kind of going along insulation, cheap, eco-friendly, and all the other amazing elements that you can just buy a piece of land, build this structure, with your own hands once you've done a course, and and live happily ever after. I mean, you're living the dream now, aren't you, Kate?
I mean, Chris, to be honest, we are living the dream, and sometimes people, they just can't believe it because it sounds too good to be true, and that's, I think, part of the problem. Some people go, well, that can't be right, or but we are living the dream. We are living in a stupidly cheap house.
That's amazing
house, that we've built.
Yeah.
And I mean, empowerment is just indescribable. There are so many applications. People on low incomes could build themselves houses. For hardly any money. People get themselves out of poverty, get themselves out of mortgage debt. There are so many. It's so easy. I can't tell you. And this is something that people find really hard to get, because I say, oh, it's really easy. And they probably think, oh, well, she's probably really skilled or something. But I wasn't when I started. I mean, I'm a sculptor and I'm naturally practical, but that is it. I didn't have any great skills. I've not trained as a builder. I did interior design for this, and I did painting, but I wasn't a builder. And I literally did a 10-day course, and then I set myself up, and that's it. And I've built my house. I've built lots of other houses for other people.
That's amazing.
And it's seriously easy to do. And if you've got the passion for it, I mean, it is hard work. I mean, I don't want to be too biased on one side. It's hard work. It's physically hard work.
It's worth it in the end.
But I mean, why pay to go to the gym when you can build a house there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I just want to get him a cob.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap up and stuff, look, any advice in terms of land? Obviously, can you buy a piece of agricultural land, or do you have to be very selective? What's your thoughts?
Well, it's a very long story.
Yeah.
And politically, it's something that we cover on our 4-day courses. But politically, it's kind of, I'm in two minds about it, because obviously I don't necessarily think we should be building on agricultural land, because
no, of course not.
Because if everyone did, there'd be none left, and we'd have a country of concrete, or even if it was cob, I mean, it would still be trashed. We need some countryside. So it's a difficult one. But I mean, on a small scale, obviously, it's much cheaper. So agricultural land can come in at anything from 6 to 15, thousand an acre, as opposed to building plots, which can be 60 to 250. So it's obviously very tempting to buy an agricultural plot and try and get permission. There are some ways around it. They're all fairly tricky. There's no straightforward way. You can apply for exceptional eco credentials, which is what cob will definitely come under that, because it's exceptional green. So there's ways of applying for that. There are several things. It's a bit of a long story, but there are things like, for example, if you wanted to get into farming, if you had some cows and you could prove that you were making a living from those cows, for example, you'd have to have a farm. You have to show 3 years of books to show that you're actually living on the cows. Then you could be allowed to. It's quite extreme. Yeah, then you could be allowed to.
But that's like a homestead, isn't it? Like,
well, I mean, in a way, it would save you shed loads of money. So you might want to do farming as a sideline. But I mean,
why not?
But that's just one way. But there's lots of little things like that. But generally, it's fairly hard to get permission on greenbelt land. So it's much easier to a building plot.
Right. So just find a nice piece of land that's cheap, preferably a normal piece of land, and lock it down and give it permission. Is that? I
mean, there's lots of ways of doing it. You can buy a horrible house on a nice plot of land and knock it down. Or you could, a really good way that I've been thinking about lately is a collective. So if a few of you got together, even if it's just 4 individuals or 4 families or something got together and built, you'd be much more likely to get the
permission.
Exceptional, but the permission to build on green land.
Okay.
Because you're saying, we're building a small eco development, This is exceptional.
Is that what they did in Wales, Katie? Do you know the guys?
I'm not sure. I don't think they did it legally. They sort of tried to. They did it illegally and then tried to get it through, which I'm not recommending as an idea at all. Because it's so stressful, and they've got the power to tell you to take it down. And
I think they had to.
No point. Yeah, no. I think that's crazy. Really. But the thing is, everyone always goes on about land, but the thing is, land is land. It's going to cost what it costs anyway. So that is, if you're building a house with bricks and mortar, you've still got to buy the land. So then the house on top is going to cost 100. Yeah, then the house is going to cost 100 grand, or it's going to cost you 10 or 20 grand with with Cobb. So, do you know what I mean? It's kind of irrelevant.
and for our international kind of listeners is I'm sure in some countries like, I don't know, Bulgaria or Europe or even further afield, land might be cheaper and permission might be a lot easier. I mean, I think some countries you don't even need a permission. If it's your land, you can kind of do what you want.
Absolutely. My brother lives in America, and there are certain states where you can do exactly what you want.
Oh, wow.
There's lots of different places. I mean, we have lots of people on our 4-day courses, which is basically teaching you how to build your whole house course.
Cool.
We've had a woman from Bali, we've had 2 women from Australia, we have had people from every country in Europe, including Estonia, including Bulgaria, Romania, all these different places. And and lots of people from Britain who are thinking of moving, particularly to Portugal, Spain, and if you start having a quick browse, you can pick up hectares and hectares out there for like a few quid.
Grand. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I remember being in the gym and a guy bought a farm in Bulgaria for like $4,000 or something, which is
exactly
amazing. So sorry, okay. To wrap up, where can people find more about yourself and your courses? Where's the best place to find you guys?
Best place to find us is at Cobcourses.com, which is our website. You can just Google Kate Edwards. But Cobcourses.com is where all the information is, how to book on a course, there's lots of info on there as well about Cobb.
Great stuff.
So hopefully we'll see some of you on a course soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the interview, and look forward to having you back on the show.
Cool. Brilliant.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you very much for enjoying our Eco Times magazine podcast. We'd like to tell you all the platforms we're on. So we're on SoundCloud, we're on Stitcher, which is for Android. If you've got Android phone, you can download Stitcher, which is a podcast app, and get the Eco Times podcast on there. We're on iTunes, so you can get it on your iPhone and iPad and all your Apple devices. And we're on TuneIn as well. And we're on YouTube. So please subscribe to whichever platform works best for you. And thank you very much for listening. We want to say a big thank you very much to Eco Times magazine for sponsoring the podcast. They are a weekly magazine, cover everything green. So if you're interested in growing your own food, renewable energy, amazing eco resorts, eco gadgets, basically anything green, how to build your own home, tiny houses, eco transport, organic food, anything green really. Big thank you to them. And please check them out. The links be below, and it's on the Apple newsstand, so you'll be able to get it on your iPad and iPhone. Thank you and have a great day.